we are trying to do this parenting thing better. We want to be the greatest caregivers. We want to give these children, our children, the very best possible opportunity to succeed. We want to create the best circumstance for them to grow. But apparently, we're missing out on something. There's more to the understanding.
Well, Jay, let's start with the parent in waiting. We'll go through the process of nurturing this pregnancy, and we have these idyllic moments and thoughts about what parenting is going to look like. And I would say so many of us want to parent better than we were parented. We want to do it differently, whether it's better or not, but we want to do it differently than we were. And we want to give our new baby everything that we didn't have. And so we have this image of what this baby's going to look like. And so if you just kind of close your eyes and you think of that baby in your arms, and it's this very Madonna-esque experience, and that's what you're anticipating. The delivery date comes, you have this baby, and it so happens that that baby, your new prodigy, is not a baby that's a molder or a cuddler. They're a screamer and a yeller. So all this time you have been anticipating one type of baby, and we get something completely different.
Right.
And the key element is if we stay in the fantasy of having this Madonna-esque experience, and you have a baby that's a little bit more feisty, it really can break the reciprocity, break the relationship that you thought you were going to have because your expectations are changed. And so we have to start thinking about these children we bring in the world of how do we understand them first. We can't assume that that little infant's going to say, I want a calm baby who's going to nurse on demand, who's going to feed and who's going to listen, who's going to go to bed when I want them to go to bed and do all the things that we think we want them to do, and they do everything opposite. So a key element for parenting is to get into the baby's rhythm. They cannot get into our rhythm. Our responsibility is to get into the baby's rhythm, and that's where it needs to begin. Look at that baby and size the baby up and get into that baby rhythm, and I really guarantee that the relationship will change.
Does most of the frustration come from the unmet expectations?
The parent's frustration. And what happens is we start a relationship with the baby where it's, they give a little bit, you give a little bit, and if everybody seems to want to take, it really does fracture it. And if we really want to make it diminish our frustrations, and this is where I think this is really hard for adults and parents, is that we do have to listen to the kid. They're the ones who's setting the pace. If we continue in the pathway that we're setting the pace and they have to follow our rhythm, we're going to get enormously frustrated. And then the baby's going to get enormously frustrated. And then what will happen is the child is not going to get their needs met. We all need that sense of belonging. We all need to feel love. We all need to have appropriate power. So when you have this infant who is struggling to learn how to gain all those three major core elements of their insides, and then you have a parent who's feeling powerless, who feels like their baby doesn't love them, and who feels that they don't have a sense of belonging in the world of parenting. I failed because it all is not what the expectations are. The abyss between the baby and the parent, it becomes enormously frustrating. And you think of the worst day that you've had with your baby, and what we read in the paper with these young, not always young, but these young moms or these dads get so frustrated. They don't know what to do. The abyss is so great, and they just so desperately want to bring those babies close to them, and they don't know how to do it. And so they shake that baby, be with me, love me, and babies don't get that.
Then how do we find the appropriate balance if the babies don't get that and our communication isn't lining up and we're bringing them to a rhythm and not going into their rhythm, and how would they know? If we're taking on the idea that here we are, weren't we supposed to show them, guide them, tell them, move them?
You hear this all the time with new parents. You buy a refrigerator and you get your manual. You get a baby and you don't get the manual. You have to go out and try to read books and do all that. We have not made the entree to parenting as smooth as it can be. We depend on our own experiences to raise that baby. Well, some of our own experiences haven't been that healthy either. So we go in with those predetermined inner core understandings of what it's supposed to be. And it's interesting to see what kind of baggage parents will bring into that relationship with the baby.
Right.
There's an interesting concept that we have. We know that babies' brains are doing some incredible stuff pre-verbally. We know they're developing empathy, that they can develop empathy before they're even able to talk. We know there's a lot of wonderful activity that's shaping and hardwiring how this kid is going to grow up. And we're not enabling parents to understand what to do with that. Mm-hmm. So we need to help and support families differently. We need to slow parenting down. We need to figure out how to help parents pace the world of parenting, and that our pace is determined by what the child is saying to us. I think no matter what culture, what economic background you are, we have these fast-paced expectations. You know, all the technologies, the instant gratification of a phone call or an email. And I think these are kind of dangerous things because we're expecting that same instant gratification of this baby who doesn't have the capacity for that kind of reciprocity, that kind of giving to the parent. And so the expectations become so unrealistic, and we want that baby to grow up and be the best and the brightest and the fastest and, you know, that football star. And when it doesn't fit, that narcissism, that when it doesn't fit our expectations, then we're disappointed at the baby, we're disappointed at ourselves, and parenting starts spiraling out of control.
You at the Loom Institute, you're considered the thought leaders in this area.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank
It's
you.
not just my opinion, I must say, but I do have to agree. So the thing is that we haven't been showing the parents, and the children are not able to give that reciprocity. Are the children merely in take mode from the time they get here to a certain point?
Are they in take mode?
They're not able to reciprocate the giving or what the parents are presenting to them.
Well, you know, I think babies...
Are they all about babies' needs? And that's it. You mentioned empathy, but is there more
needs.
to it? Well,
that's right. And our responsibility is to fulfill their needs.
And we need to understand that.
And you can't spoil babies. I'm sorry. There's a lot of MO about that. You can't carry that baby. You can't. Babies will tell you when they need to be carried. Babies will tell you when they want to walk, when they want to explore. We know that there are certain developmental levels. So our relationship with the baby, the more that we're in tune and become very attuned to what that baby's needs are. And
that can be very taxing. I want to, especially in those early stages, I want to take you back to that scene that you probably know, and I've spoken with many other mothers. That first baby, you held them all the time because that's what you thought they wanted. And then hours turned to days, and days turned to weeks. Your house, your BO, your dishes, and all that goes to the wayside. Your rest, none of that. Now, is that pretty much the expectation? That is the standard operating procedure? We should expect that, or is there some kind of thing that we could be molding or changing?
I really wish it was. I wish it was linear. It's not linear.
Okay.
It's not like this. Every baby, it's A, B, and
Exactly.
C.
So that could have been just our particular circumstance.
Yeah. The more we tune with babies, and the more we look. Really understand our babies. They keep telling us what they want. Mm-hmm. And let me dance up the developmental ladder. We have a child that's 4 years old, and they're thinking in their head that they've had a hard day. Montez grabbed the block away from them today, and Susie wouldn't let you play with them today, and all these little minor frustrations and little mini traumas that children experience through the day, and they really lose their power, they lose their sense of belonging, and they feel like they've just been kicked in the stomach through the day. So they come home, and they are acting out in certain ways. If little Joey came home and said, "Hey, Mom, Damontez whacked me. Susie wouldn't let me play. Things didn't go well. I'm having a miserable day." You'd probably pick up Joey and go, "Oh, you sweet little thing, come here."
Absolutely.
But they don't have the words yet. They don't have the intellectual capacity to do it. So the only way they know how to do it is often through mischief, whether they whine, whether they kick the cat.
Or their brother.
Or their brother. Yeah. They need your lap. They need your understanding. And what often happens when this is going on is we end up, going down the punishment or the discipline route.
Mm-hmm.
And all they want is to be held. How do we know that?
In the middle of chaos, hold.
It's interesting. Babies, I think this is just an interesting phenomenon. Babies get enraged and they're screaming and yelling, going, feed me, feed me, feed me. And they're doing their thing and you hear it all and you're like, oh my God. We sweep over and we get the food ready and we pick that baby up and we coddle that baby and we nurse that baby back to emotional stability. When a 2-year-old is raging because whatever, we don't sweep them up and bring them close and love them. We find that the older the child, and when they're so frustrated and so demoralized and they're acting out, we end up punishing and trying to overpower them when really we need to go back to what the roots are. We love them. Kids act out and they need different kind of love. And it's really hard when a kid is throwing
toy cars. You can ask me for any of those fillers. I got you. Toy cars, shoes, cups.
They're throwing them across the room.
Mm-hmm. Or at their brother.
At their brother, or maybe at their brother, maybe even at their brother. So they get this stuff, and they're just saying to me, I need some other way. I do not know how to contain myself. And we as parents think that kids think the same way we think, and they don't. They don't have the intellectual capacities yet to put all those things together. So the only way they know how to do it is in a very primal, unsophisticated way. So they throw the cars across the room. They're saying, stop me, help me, hold me. And I can tell you on numerous occasions, both as a teacher and as a parent, and I had one of my daughters was really, really edgy, which she always cracked me up. She was a clone of me and really edgy and really learned. She tried everything to push me away in so many ways. And the more I could demonstrate love, the more I can demonstrate unconditional commitment to her when she was good or bad, the deeper the relationship could become. We think those mischiefs that the kids are getting into are mischiefs of intent.
Right. You know what you're doing. I can hear the adults' responses. You know what you're doing. You know better than that.
Yeah, and
you're
don't.
Trying to do.
No.
You're trying to get what you want. You're trying to get me upset.
I had a really.
Do you think I'm crazy?
Have
you lost your mind?
I think there's a voice of parent in there.
I've heard lots of that. Well, that's a good point. Why does it set us off so much that we can't see that? And we end up going off into a place of imbalance ourselves.
Yeah. Two things. I wanted to take one step back.
Sure.
I will get back to what that mirroring kind of experience needs to be. But I was teaching a class last night, and there was a couple persons talking about preschoolers understanding the word deceit. I really struggle with that. Children are so pure, they don't understand such a negative word as deceit. If they are getting into mischief, they're getting into mischief to get a deep need met. They don't sit and plan. And I think sometimes parents think they're planning. What they're planning is, how do I get my needs met? And if we have such a fractured relationship that everything that they do, the only way they know how to get it done is mischief. Now let's dance that mischief up to 13, 14, and 15. It's a pretty scary thought. So we really need to think of new ways and different ways to reconnect with the parent. And so to get back to one of the things that there's something called mirroring, and it takes a little bit more time and effort and energy on a parent's part. There's a guarantee if you can really learn how to mirror with your child and you look in their eyes and you create these things as opposed to that child acts and we just mirror back.
Give me an example.
So if child says, no, I'm not going to do it, instead of, oh, yes, you are, and I'll show you, and you go over and you grab the child's hand and you make them pick that block up or you make them pick that trash up or that food, as opposed to just saying, oh, you're not going to do it, and let it be. Now, most parents go, but he hasn't done what he was supposed to do.
Sure.
But it's not about what he's done. It's about your relationship with him. If we can help parents get out of the mindset to think that kids are being devious, that they're just doing things not to get things done. They do things to get under our skin because they want us under their skin in a loving way.
On our
They want us engaged in a positive way, but they just don't know how. So if he came up and said, I'm feeling discouraged right now, you'd say, oh, come here. But they don't know how to do it. So they create these other mischiefs. So if we're listening and looking at our child and not just playing the act-react game, the child says something to you and you're looking at it and you want to just jump out of your skin to give yourself a few moments. Really look at what's going on. Really size the situation up. Take a couple breaths. You don't need to react that fast. And then go in with a little bit more calm, a little bit more understanding. And this is a kind of a discipline that parents need to develop. You know, we keep saying we have to discipline these kids. No, we have to discipline ourselves.
We as parents
need
some training.
The more a parent can demonstrate discipline of self-control, discipline of containment, what a model that is for a child.
Our 7-year-old, in the middle of one of those mornings where somebody got the full roll of tissue in the toilet and no one could find shoes and we spilled, the refrigerator's still open, the dog's eating something. Just one of those manic mornings. And mother and father are probably several octaves high by now because we're trying to get in the car. We have life and we have jobs that require us to be on time. They have school to be on time. We're all caught up in that frenzy. The 7-year-old says, can I just explain? This is the toilet tissue. There goes Dad. Yeah, I know what you were trying to do. You think I don't know what to do. And I looked and he says, but is it okay if I still explain? Level as anything I've ever seen. When he came into the kitchen, I gave him a big hug. I said, I am so extremely proud of you. You showed me something there. You really taught me something. His response was, I just want to be peaceful. That's what I'm working on, is being peaceful, he told me. And that shocked me. It shocked my system. It rocked my understanding. And it is sitting with me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. So, Jay, if they have the words to say something like that.
All along, he's been the mischief guy. So to see this.
See, that is fantastic. At 7, they have so much of that capacity to do that. But at 3, they don't have those words. And it's our responsibility to teach them to be able to do that at 7.
And in turn, he taught us. We should have had the capacity.
So here's the mirroring.
Come on.
He only mirrored back something that the family has already given him. So, yes, he reinforced what you have already taught him. So what a wonderful gift that is.
I wish I could take the credit. I'll have to say Veronica Wachter at MICDS, his first grade teacher, is amazing at that.
See,
she creates this amazing environment. Every day she moves at a pace that makes sense, that gives them time to think and process. I am enlightened every time I come into her classroom, and I've seen that happen in her. I bring that all up to say we get so frantic because then we toss in all these elements. Are we too busy to parent?
I think that's really a huge issue for us. We have to figure out something that we're using at University City Children's Center. A phrase that we're using is right time parenting.
Tell us about that.
Right time parenting. We can't control time. Time is an enigma. It's really kind of interesting. And everybody has their own pace, their own temperament. So what is your right time parenting? What is it for you? When do you feel frustrated? When do the children feel frustrated? And helping parents develop what that right time parenting is for them is really important. So one of the things that we did at school to support families, we put this table right by the entryway and a couple months ago, and we put crayons on the table, and we asked several parents if every day they would stop and color with their child to slow the pace and to see what the transition was like, either into school or out of school. We did it for several weeks, and then we contacted the parents, and we gave them a little survey to fill out, and 50% of the parents said it was wonderful. Some of the parents said it just made me more late, made me more frantic because then I had to stop and color with my kid and blah, 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 blah. And then we had a couple families who said it's just like the candy at the grocery store in that aisle. And I thought these were all really great responses for us because it really validated so much. We had some who thought it was wonderful, who stopped and started to breathe in and breathe out. And then the family who was racing out, it really hopefully began to let them mirror back to themselves. This is not good. My baby wants me to stop with them, and my baby wants to work with me. And what is going to happen when you want to work with that baby and that baby says to you, sorry, Dad, I'm too busy. These things are lessons that these kids are learning. There's something called a genuine encounter. And I think this is really, really important. And it's a word. It's a phrase. It is when you're with your child and you look at that child, that baby, that 2-year-old, that 5-year-old, you look them in the eye when they're talking to you and you give them 30 totally undivided attention for 30 seconds. And think about what that would look like for 30 seconds. You really hang in there with them. No other disruptions for 30 seconds. It's hard for families today. If we can start doing that, it's like when you get home after a hard day work, you're trying to get dinner on the table, and all of a sudden, as soon as you're trying to get all the stuff done, get ready, the kids are going, hey, mommy, 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 daddy, daddy, daddy. And we're like, I'm trying to get dinner done, blah, 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 blah. If we stop and say, Jade, what do you want? Can I sit with you? And just spend that undivided attention for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and they will be happy as a clam, and they go about their business, and you go about your business. But instead, what often can happen is, oh, no, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. So they whine a little bit, mommy, 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 and they whine a little bit more, mommy, 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 and you continue doing what you're doing. And next you hear the toy cars being thrown at your brother, or the cat being kicked, or the dog being kicked, and you hear all this rumpus. And now you're disrupted again, and you go out there, and now you're disrupted for 10 minutes because you're disciplining and you're getting all crazy, and then the pot's boiling over on the stove, and we create franticness. If we can help families stop for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and give your child that one-on-one, that undivided attention, sidle their soul, you're going to see just that one little new activity in a family is going to make a big difference. It'll give that child a sense of belonging after spending 8 hours at school or daycare, wherever they are, where they've had to share everything. They've had teachers telling them what to do. They've, in the cafeteria, they have to eat at a certain time. I mean, everything is just controlled. And they come home and need a friend. They need somebody who's going to be a partner. And children want us to partner with them. That's an absolute important, critical concept. Children want partners. They want an attachment figure. They want an attunement figure. They want a partner. Doesn't mean it's a friend, but they want a partner. And as they develop partners, it makes the world safe for them. So they can take risks because they know they can come back to you because you are safe. You are their partner. Do we have the capacity to partner with our own children? And
if we don't, that may be the area of development for us. What I'm discovering is that most of the problem comes from our poor capacity to, as you say, get in their rhythm.
Yeah.
It's really and we'll go work out to train for this. We'll spend some extra time at work to better our career or our position or even complete whatever's the most pressing task at work.
Mm-hmm.
We'll spend a full day scrubbing, cleaning, and getting our houses in order. But developing our capacity to support and understand our kids.
These new mommies are sitting in the hospitals and they're waiting to get out. And if they can remotely listen, there's probably a handful of things that they need to leave from the hospital with. They need to understand what a genuine encounter is. If they can figure out a genuine encounter, that will support the ability for them to attach to their child or their child to attach to them. If they can have these sweet little genuine encounters, it also helps us attune to their baby better. So you're really solidifying their ability to develop a relationship. Now, we know that children's language and children's relationships go hand in hand. So if you're developing a relationship with your child, you're talking to your child all the time and you are mirroring with the child and mimicking back what they do and really getting engaged. So if we talk to parents about having a genuine encounter, it will enable all those real important things to be solidified between you and your baby.
The top 3 things to be solidified are
attachment between you and baby, being able to be attuned to the baby's needs, and to be able to be a real strong partner.
I wrote those under the first three things you said were our core needs: attachment, attuned, and strong partner. So in the column, the first one was belong, attachment.
Yeah.
Loved, attuned, power, strong partner. They lined up 1-to-1 in totally different conversations.
I haven't done that before. Thank you. I mean, it's
if
important.
that was diagrammed,
That's interesting. Yeah.
this thing lined up so amazingly just then.
You know, what we've known so much about attachment for a gazillion years. I mean, 100 years we've been studying attachment and those relationships. And now we have brain research, real current brain research that really maps and measures a child's emotional development. Really, you can see if the trillion neurons firing in a baby's brain when there are good things going on, and their brain is lit up like fireworks when good stuff. When there's trauma, their brain is dim and dull when measured. So we've really learned the importance of attachment, and now we have pictures that tell us and show us. I mean, we have these great show and tells. Here's your baby with an attachment. Here's your baby without attachment. Here's a baby with attachment. Here's a baby without attachment.
Describe the two. Without attachment, what do we
if
see?
somebody does not have a regular figure in their life and they don't have anybody to count on, the brain, they say, use it or lose it. So if a child's not being emotionally stimulated to form attachments, those parts of the brain just die. Once those brain pathways die, they're gone. Now, there's ways of re-stimulating new ones, but not in those areas. So if a child has no attachment, children who are in, pretty tough situations, and we're seeing it in war-torn countries, it's easy to see. But, in our own country, we have third world neighborhoods.
The third world near you.
Showing
at a third world near you, right here.
That's
Absentee fathers, absentee mothers, parents that are there physically but absent.
That's right. So we don't have to go far. And we have measurements. And I think the statistic is something like 13 out of every 1,000 babies die of something called failure to thrive syndromes, where they don't have the emotional spark, the emotional connectedness, the attuned person around them, or the partner, but they have food, clothing, and shelter. You can have those three, but if they don't have the emotional support, they can die, physically die. It's failure to thrive. And
what do they look like when it's there?
Well, it looks like a third world baby.
I mean, when the attachment is there, when that connection is there. So we looked at that attachment as a segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if they don't have that, they die. That's a key segment that we're doing. What does it look like when it's present?
Oh, my God, it's joy, and it's sad. It's everything, because the child feels safe, because they know they can feel everything in the safety and comfort of a loving, caring parent or a loving, caring child care provider, that they can feel the joy, yet they can feel sadness, they can feel disappointment, they can feel hunger, they can feel all the things, knowing that there's somebody there to hold them in their hands and care for their soul. And kids with real strong attachments have real strong language skills. There's good brain research in that. If you don't have good relationships, your language skills are often diminished, not because of physiological issue, but you just don't have them. So those are really important things. If you have a good relationship, you'll have strong language. You will feel emotionally safe. And just, step in the shoes of this little tidbit of conversation. If you're feeling emotionally safe, you're feeling pretty good, you go to a party, you're ready to socialize with people. So if kids are feeling emotionally safe, they will feel socially safe. And if they feel socially safe, they will take academic risk. They will let their innovative souls go wild. And because they know that the adults around them are going to keep them safe, and the adults around them care for them. So if you have a fractured attachment, a child's cautiousness and concern about developing relationships because they don't know if they're going to get clubbed or they're going to be disappointed, they're not going to have a friend. So the types of friendships become different, whether they get them through aggressions, through withdrawal. There's lots of ways to get those things done.